After years in the city, Aarav returns to his crumbling ancestral home, only to find old wounds, a hidden diary, and a family divided. With every step, repairing walls, reading his grandma's words, and facing long-held grudges, he fights to bring kin and village back together. Will love and courage be enough to turn a house of silence into a home of laughter again? The old house threshold. After years away, Aarav stepped off the train in his ancestral village and was instantly wrapped in the familiar earthy scent of the soil, a fragrance etched into his childhood memories. The air carried that same cool dampness that once lured him and his sister onto dusty paths during summer holidays. As he left the station, his eyes caught the ancient mango tree standing tall, as if still waiting for him. In childhood, it had been his greatest companion. Hours spent swinging from its branches, plucking fruit, and hiding high among the leaves to escape his grandmother's scolding. Memories swept over him. Since his parents' passing, both the house and the village had grown distant. Study, work, and the relentless of city life had pulled him away. But now, at 25, the pull of his mother's memory and his father's unfinished dreams had brought him back. Walking the narrow dirt road toward the old family home, Aarav noticed the broken earthen pots by the doorway, the crumbling walls, and the dry courtyard well, as if they were whispering, "You took your time, son, but you came back, and that is enough." Inside, the familiar earthy aroma lingered. The wooden cupboard still stood, holding hand-knitted sweaters and his father's yellowed letters. Dust coated his grandmother's portrait on the wall, preserving the ache of passing years. Aarav drew a deep breath and realized this house was more than bricks and clay. It was the mirror of his roots. Every corner spoke of memories and bonds, moments of laughter, tears, and the echoes of dreams left unfinished. Layers of the past from Grandma's old diary. Night had deepened, and a cool breeze drifted through the cracks of the old house, carrying a faint earthy scent. Aarav stood before the wooden cupboard his grandmother had once commissioned herself. When he opened its creaky door, the room filled with the gentle aroma of aging books, clothes, and yellowed letters. His gaze fell on a thick diary, coated in dust. Across the cover, in elegant handwriting, was his grandmother's name, Sarala Devi. As he brushed the dust away, it felt as though the past was stirring to life. Aarav opened the diary and began to read. On the very first page, she had written, "A home isn't built from walls alone. It breathes through the bonds of family. Guard those ties, no matter how the world changes." Aarav's eyes welled up. Page after page revealed everyday tales of the village and the family's joys. His father's first job, praise for his mother's handmade dishes. But some entries carried a quiet ache. "There was an argument today. Your father and his brother clashed over the land. I fear this quarrel could tear our roots apart." Aarav felt a sharp tug at his heart. As a child, he'd overheard fragments of tension between his father and uncle, but he'd never understood. Now the depth of that rift became clear. Further on, his grandmother had written, "I trust the next generation will mend these bonds. Aarav, I believe you will hold that thread. This house, this soil, will call you back." His hands trembled. It was as if she were beside him even now, gently resting a reassuring hand on his back. Every line of the diary reminded him of his duty, to reconnect the family's broken links. Long into the night, he sat in the old courtyard, the stars bright overhead. He could almost feel her watching, whispering, "Son, the time has come to restore this home to its true spirit." A new resolve stirred within Aarav. He would not only restore the house to its former beauty, but also do all he could to reunite the scattered family. The village pulse and old family wounds. The first rays of morning filtered through cracks in the broken roof as Aarav opened his eyes. The air was fresh with the scent of damp soil and green trees. The village was slowly waking. Cowbells chimed in the distance, pots clinked in kitchens, and children's laughter floated through the lanes. Stepping into the courtyard, Aarav noticed a few neighbors passing along the narrow path. Recognition flickered in their eyes, but so did a touch of hesitation. In childhood, they'd called him Little Master, yet now they offered only a polite nod. The village square remained unchanged. The great banyan tree still shaded the gathering place where elders met each day. When Aarav arrived, a few old men were already playing cards. "Isn't that Gopal's boy?" one murmured. "Yes," another replied. "The one who moved to the city? What's brought him back?" Their whispers carried the sting of the past. Aarav knew the quarrel between his father and elder uncle over land had left its mark across the village, and those old resentments still lingered. He decided his first visit should be to Nandu, his childhood friend, now a teacher at the primary school. Nandu's face lit up with surprise and joy. Aarav! After all these years, I can hardly believe it. They embraced, memories of carefree days rushing back. Over tea at the roadside stall, Nandu's tone turned serious. You know, your uncle still holds a grudge about the land. He's never let it go. Aarav exhaled slowly. I know, but I want to set things right. I can repair the house, but mending these relationships, that's harder. Nandu placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Start anyway. Your uncle's anger runs deep, but he isn't a bad man. The first step has to be yours. By afternoon, Aarav gathered his courage and walked to his uncle's house. The wooden door was weathered back, but the courtyard was neat. His aunt, seated on the veranda cutting vegetables, froze when she saw him. Aarav, is that you? His uncle emerged, face lined with years of toil and a hint of sternness. Surprise and a shadow of resentment flickered in his eyes. What brings you here? His deep voice rumbled. Hands joined, Aarav said quietly, Uncle, I've come to apologize. I had no part in the dispute between you and Dad, but I want to end this divide. Our home isn't just a patch of land, it's who we are. Grandma dreamed of us staying united. Silence hung for a moment. His uncle drew a long breath. Moisture glistened at the corners of his eyes, though the hardness remained. It's not that simple, son. Old wounds take time. As much time as it takes, Aarav replied softly. But I won't give up. Grandma entrusted me with this responsibility. I want us to live as one family again. The old man said nothing more, only gave the slightest nod, a spark of hope for Aarav. By the time Aarav returned to the old house at dusk, he felt he had taken the first and hardest step. His grandmother's words echoed in his mind. Hold every thread with love, no matter how tangled it may be. Mending the bonds. As the soft evening light spread across the old courtyard walls, Aarav felt a strange surge of energy despite the day's fatigue. His brief talk with his uncle had lit a small lamp of hope inside him. The challenge ahead wasn't just about his uncle. It was about bringing the whole family, and perhaps the entire village, back together. He began by restoring the house itself, repairing broken windows, clearing the courtyard, even reviving the dry well. This wasn't only about giving the home a fresh look. It was a message that the courtyard belonged to everyone. As villagers noticed the changes, their curiosity grew. Nandu came by each afternoon after school to help, soon joined by a few local kids sweeping and scrubbing. Gradually, neighbors and old friends pitched in. Someone remarked, Gopal's boy really does want to make a difference. Aarav's heart swelled at the words. One evening, he decided it was time to gather the entire family and village to settle old issues. With Nandu's help, he cleared a wide earthen platform in the courtyard and invited everyone to a coming-together gathering the following Sunday. That morning, the village buzzed with a quiet excitement, and most important of all, Aarav's elder uncle arrived without a word. His presence alone felt like half the battle won. Before everyone, Aarav read aloud a passage from his grandmother's diary. A home of relationships stays strong only while we know how to forgive. The bond of earth and blood never truly breaks. It just needs someone to remind us. Silence settled over the courtyard. Then his uncle's deep voice broke it. Mistakes were made on both sides. I held on too tightly. So did your father. But now, perhaps it's time to change. The old anger in his uncle's eyes softened into quiet regret. His aunt stepped forward and laid a gentle hand on Aarav's head, as if years of affection had returned in a moment. Aarav bent to touch his uncle's feet. Uncle, the land belongs to both of us. But first and foremost, this is the home of our hearts. That's what Grandma wanted. His uncle's hands trembled as he drew Aarav into an embrace. A ripple of relief swept through the courtyard. Neighbors clapped, children burst into laughter. That evening, the entire clan lit a lamp before grandmother's portrait. Aarav felt the long years of distance beginning to fade. It wasn't just the house anymore. The whole village had become his family. Under a sky thick with stars, he looked toward his grandmother's picture and whispered, Grandma, your thread is tied once more. A new dawn. Home and hearts reborn. The cool night air carried a festive glow through the courtyard of the old house. Colorful streamers draped the repaired posts, rows of clay lamps flickered, and a sacred fire blazed in the center platform. Everything seemed to proclaim that the home had come alive again. As the first morning light spilled across the courtyard, Aarav felt the weight of years lift from his shoulders. Laughter now echoed through every corner. Children's giggles, women's cheerful chatter from the kitchen, the low murmur of elders swapping stories. A house once silent and coated in dust, now pulsed with family and village life. At dawn, his elder uncle approached carrying a worn document, the land deed that had fueled decades of discord. "Son," he said in a steady, deep voice, "this paper means nothing now. The real land is this courtyard that belongs to all of us. Keep it safe, but remember, it's hearts, not papers, that matter." Aarav, moved, placed the deed beside his grandmother's portrait. Villagers joined the celebration, sharing sweets and beating drums. Nandu led the children in folk songs while the women sang old melodies, filling the courtyard with music and laughter. A fresh coat of paint brightened the walls, and the once dry well brimmed with water again. Children played on the swings, women drew buckets of cool water. This house had become the village's heart once more. As dusk settled, Aarav addressed everyone. "This house isn't mine alone. It belongs to all of us. Grandma always said, a home lives only through the breath of relationships. I want this courtyard to remain open, welcoming festivals, sorrows, joys, and children's laughter." His uncle patted his back. His aunt embraced him with tear-filled eyes. Neighbors echoed together, "This is the true victory, family united." Later, when the crowd dispersed, Aarav opened his grandmother's diary to its final page. There she had written, "If this house ever rings with laughter again, know that my soul is at peace." Aarav looked up to the starry sky. The stars seemed to twinkle in a gentle smile. "Grandma," he whispered, "your dream is fulfilled." This house was no longer just a memory of the past, but a symbol of a bright new beginning. A story not only of Aarav, but of anyone brave enough to nurture the roots of family and love.